All right.
All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to basically run through this eye setting thing like you're used to seeing it, like you saw it when you come through and did your course. And if you look up here at the eye, I've got the same diagram that you're used to seeing. It's the same one that I've got in the background here. And if you've not received that in email, you can send me an email and I'll send it to you. But we all know that this first third right here, that's the pitch, okay? And then of course we have the low point down here that's going to be somewhere in the middle to somewhere between there and the rear third right there. We've got our horizontal line right here that represents the line that we use to level our pupil. So all that stuff's in there. I've even gone as far on this one just for the demonstration that right here on the top of what is the limbal ring, I put a little dark line right there, and that little marker line is to represent the top of that cornea. And so you remember we have the cornea, everything in here that's dark. Of course, the dark portion of the eye is the iris, and then we have the cornea, which is the lens that's on the eye, and around the dark portion of the eye we have the limbal ring. That's real important when we go setting our eyelids up here in just a minute. But right at the top of that cornea right there, I put a little line. And remember, if you're using the pair eyes that are the defined cornea eyes, there's a left eye and a right eye, and the left eye, in this case it's a left eye, the fat portion of the egg is always forward, and then the flat portion would be at the top. And so that's how you know. If you can take one of these eyes and you can lay it on the table with the flat portion at the top as you're looking at it, and whichever side is the fat side of the egg, that's the direction and the side of that where that eye goes. So we've got the left eye up here in place, we got it set, and I'm going to go ahead and set this for you. Remember, we take our clay and we roll out our Tootsie Rolls. So basically, we've got a Tootsie Roll. And I'm going to take that Tootsie Roll and I'm going to roll it out to something that looks like a slug. That don't really look like a slug, and y'all know it, but that's what we're going to call it. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it up here right on top, that little black line that I put at the top of the cornea and the top of the limbal ring. I'm going to lay it right there, and I've got this angle line, but here's the bottom line. When you lay it on top, lay it, that your slug of clay at an angle on top of that limbal ring where it conceals the limbal ring a couple of millimeters beyond it. You want to go beyond the limbal ring a little bit further. Don't just set it up on top and think that's good enough, because when it dries it'll pull back away from the limbal ring. Bring it down on the limbal ring, and at this point I want to be able to see the pitch, the bottom of the pitch line, which is right here. I want to be able to see that, and I want that line to come above the back corner of the eye. I don't want it to be like this. In this case it's too steep. In this case, when I look at it 90 degrees, I can't see the pitch, the point of the pitch, and my line is below the back corner line, that horizontal line that we use for aligning the pupil. So bring it down a little bit. Easy check. If the back is above the back corner or our back horizontal line, the back center of the eye, and the front is below the pitch, and you're sitting down on top of the cornea and down onto the limbal ring, you're in the right place. Once we get it on there, don't be pinching it off and smoothing it out yet. You gotta kind of work it and flatten it out a little bit. Flatten it out a little bit. Keep this angle here. I'm not worried about the top anymore. I'm not worried about the ends, but I want to keep it flat, and I want to keep that angle. And then I can take and sort of smooth the ends out, and then smooth the top off. Just pulling it right into it. And we're going to take and spray a little bit of water on it, because that's water-based clay. This critter clay dries out pretty quickly, and that's what the top looks like. Now I'm going to take my second piece of clay. I'm going to roll out another Tootsie Roll. There's my Tootsie Roll, and I'm going to roll it out into a slug. A little pointed on the ends. If you're having problems rolling it out smooth, you just work the palm of your hands and work it back and forth on the points first, and then work some fatness out of the middle. And you want it to be a little pointed on the ends and a little chunky in the middle. And I'm going to take this one, I'm going to create a little curve in the front like this. Y'all remember this. Y'all did it. Put it right up here in the front, lay it in the slot. Just lay it right down in the slot in contact with the eyeball and the bottom of the limbal ring. When you get up to the back, go ahead and bring it straight on up and then cut it off. We don't want all that extra clay on there. Now first thing we're going to do, flatten it out. Got to keep it up all the way in contact with the eyeball and then just start flattening it out. As you're flattening it out here, make contact with the eyeball with your finger. Your finger should be touching clay and eyeball. If you don't, if you just come down here on the clay, you're going to push the clay too far below the limbal ring and the bottom of the cornea. So let's go ahead and press that in. And it's still real thick at the bottom. So I'm going to come up here to the front. Now I'm going to start blending it in and bring it down over that cheekbone right there. And that keeps this full. If this is concave up in this area, then you've over-tooled your clay. You're going to come back, get it nice and smooth, in with the form, nice and flat here in the back. And now I can start to make a couple of initial adjustments. So the initial adjustment, things I want to look at first are, I can't really determine the pitch until I get the front closed up, but I can see this angle. Angle looks pretty good. I want it to descend down in the back, just like the egg that we see on the reference back there. So this doesn't look like an egg, it's squared off. And so we're going to come back here. We want to be able to see the limbal ring in the back. So I can just take a little tool and I can scribe that egg back there. I can bring down the top a little bit. I'm just trying to create that little egg point, bottom and top. And you can see that little shape back there. We got a guide we're going to put out here pretty soon. It's going to have some pictures that highlight these sub-shapes. But this is sort of the back section of the egg. And then in here in the lower curve right there, we just want to get a nice smooth curve. And I want my low point either needs to be in the center or in the rear third, somewhere in that range. And then I can come back, and if I can get that stuff worked out now, that's going to make everything come together a little better as I get up here in the front. Next thing is the Tic Tacs. So I'm going to take my first Tic Tac right here. All right, and I'm going to have to switch sides on you. And I'm going to take my first Tic Tac and roll it out into a little slug. That's just a little bitty piece of clay. Then it's going to go right up inside this hood right here. We get a good point on the bottom. We go right up inside the hood. And that one's a little long. We don't want it to overlap, so I'm going to cut a little bit of it off. We're going to put it up inside that hood. We're going to make those points touch. Still a little bit long. I don't want to go up inside, and it should come down and touch at a little bit of an angle. It should touch the top of the other clay right there in that carbuncle area. So that's going to become the top of the carbuncle. Now, if you don't know what the carbuncle is or what I'm talking about, then you need to go back and take a look at some of the diagrams that I've sent to you. And if you don't have them, then you need to send me a message and let me know. I'm going to flatten it out just a little bit. These are the same things we did in the course. So we're going to flatten that out a little bit now. And I'm going to grab just the front of it and just smear it out. And then I'm going to take my last Tic Tac, and I want it to go, there's a little, if you look right here, you're going to see there's a sharp angle right there. So we want to cut it off. So we're going to put that piece of clay right here on the glass eye at about a 45-degree angle. We're going to taper it off into the clay on both sides of it. I'm going to lay it right there. Get it a little bit high because you're going to turn that into the curve of the eye. And then we're going to smear it out on both sides. And then I can come up here and I can sort of blend it in with the rest of that clay. And then we can start to shape our eye. I've kind of smeared it there. But now we're going to shape the eye. Now we're looking for things like our pitch and how that relates to the angle, and how the angle relates to the egg, and how the egg relates to the low point, and how everything comes together into a pointed carbuncle there in the front. And we're going to kind of reshape our lacrimal crease there. And I'm going to switch sides again. We're going to get us a little paintbrush. And we're gonna, just that little bit we did right there, I'm gonna talk you through your checks. So it's lacrimal crease. That's the first check, lacrimal crease. And we've got a nice clean lacrimal crease now. Lacrimal crease is on the end of your carbuncle, and it points and descends down into your tear duct or preorbital gland area. So then I'm gonna kind of come here, clean up my carbuncle, which is our little pointed triangle in the front corner of the eye. It is where the upper eyelid descends down into the lacrimal crease, and where the lower eyelid ascends into the lacrimal crease, and it kind of creates a little point there, almost looks like a little bird beak. And then we're going to come back and smooth out all of our clay. Got to get over here and check our. I'm going to switch sides again. I'm going to check our pitch, and our pitch should be in the front 1/3, which it appears that it is. We've got a good angle sitting down on top of our cornea. I can see my cornea, and it's sitting down pretty nicely on top of the cornea. And we've got a clean egg in the back, nice and flat back there. I've got a low point that is about center, and a nice smooth curve up into our carbuncle and lacrimal crease. So now I can take this and kind of clean the eye up just a little bit. And then if you hear me see or you hear me say or if you see me post on the group page where we've said lacrimal crease, carbuncle, pitch, angle, egg, low point, that's what I'm talking about. Those are your eye checks. And then the other one is alligator. So if we look here in the front, from this point of view, you can see from the front corner of the eye, you can see this curve goes over the top, and it should be a nice clean curve. It shouldn't go up and be an angle, but whatever it is, it needs to be the same for both eyes. So you're checking your alligators in the front, and the ascension from the front corner up to the pitch should be basically actually up to the pitch and over should be the same for both eyes, and technically it should be the same for the lower eyelid too, but that upper eyelid's really important. If you don't get that right, then you might have a situation where this front portion, which is your tic tac area, where you put your last two tic tacs, where that is hanging down on the front of the cornea a little bit, and then your eye's not going to look natural at all. When we look at this from the side here, we want to get a good egg shape, nice pretty egg shape. And if you're mounting the deer, if you're ready to go ahead and mount the deer, then you got to get you a small pin and maybe a flat paintbrush like this. And you're going to have to go in and make you a slot, probably about the length of that paintbrush. That may be about 1/8 of an inch inside, so you've got a good slot ready to go. And once you've done that, then you're ready to tuck. Okay. If you got any questions, give me a call. I've got a few other things we're going to pull up here in a little while, and get a few more videos while we're putting this deer together, just to help you with your own work at home. Thanks.